Whoa! This is worthless.
It's less than worthless, my boy.
What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the heroically humble Dr. Disaster, and a lot of the Ghost of Yotei shills have really been celebrating over the past few days because Ghost of Yotei got a pretty high score from game journalists.
Who gives a shit?
What they fail to acknowledge, though, is that game journalist approval is not the same thing as gamer approval. Just because game journalists tell us that something is good does not mean that we are going to go out and rush to buy it. As an example, journalists told us that Star Wars Outlaws was a solid game, but it went on to flop big time. Or, look at Dragon Age the Veilguard. That was one of the most despised games ever made, just completely chock full of LGBT crap, and yet the game journalists loved it. And as you can see from the Metacritic score from gamers, well, when gamers saw Dragon Age, we collectively said,
I hate that piece of shit!
One of the problems with shilling too hard for a game that actually ends up sucking shit through a straw, like Dragon Age the Veilguard, is that people stop taking you seriously, and later on, when you might be scoring a game in an honest way, now the public can't trust anything that you say, because if you score it less than Dragon Age the Veilguard, even if it's like an 80 or a 90 or something, but if you score it less than Dragon Age, then gamers are given a pretty clear message about the quality of the game.
Whoa, I think I just figured something out. This sucks.
And that is something that gamers have noticed with Ghost of Yotei, that there are a chunk of these game journalist shills who always give high scoring reviews to their corporate masters. Well, these guys actually scored Ghost of Yotei lower than Dragon Age the Veilguard. So yeah, while the shills may want to celebrate this score right now, the game appears to have low pre-order numbers, as I've discussed on the channel already, and when the sales data comes out, they may be singing a different tune. Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me recently that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel, so make sure you check on that. And there's been a lot of talk about restricted mode being automatically enabled for a lot of users on YouTube, which would cut you off from a lot of your favorite channels, so don't forget to check into that as well, and turn it off if it's been turned on and you don't want it. But alright, let's take a look at some of these comparisons between how Ghost of Yotei was scored versus Dragon Age the Veilguard. We're going to look at some of these shills and what they wrote about Ghost of Yotei, and then let me demonstrate how you can't take a damn word out of their mouths seriously. Here is the review of Checkpoint Gaming for Ghost of Yotei. They gave it a 95 out of 100, and they wrote here, Ghost of Yotei is a confident sequel that grows from its predecessor in smart ways, with a bigger, bolder, more beautiful world to explore every nook and cranny of. Atsu is a strong lead, and her journey of vengeance takes some compelling twists and turns, while Edo Japan provides a true bounty of interesting side quests, charming characters, neat distractions, and wonderful secrets across what feels like a truly epic adventure. With entertaining combat and visuals that are among the best seen, Ghost of Yotei balances its violence and beauty delicately, offering a strong experience from the team at Sucker Punch Productions, an entirely memorable journey, and an action-packed, stunning adventure. Well, that sounds all well and good, doesn't it? But look here. This is the review that they gave for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and as you can see, it got a perfect 100 out of 100. Now, I don't know about you guys, but anything that is worse than the Veilguard is something I'm gonna go ahead and avoid like the plague. But anyhow, here is the Gaming Bible, who wrote this review here for Ghost of Yotei, saying, Ghost of Yotei is pure cinematic brilliance, and Sucker Punch Productions deserves to be commended once more for knocking it out of the park and in some ways topping its predecessor. I'm somewhat torn between this and Death Stranding 2 on the beach, but without question, Ghost of Yotei is one of the absolute best games of 2025, and frankly, that last statement alone should be disqualifying. Any mention of best game of the year that does not include Clair Obscur Expedition 33 should be disregarded completely. But anyhow, the Gaming Bible, as you can see here, gave Ghost of Yotei a 90 out of 100, which seems pretty damn good, but look at the score that they gave Dragon Age the Veilguard, a fricking 100 out of 100. These people are just unserious as hell, but let's look at some more of these comparisons. We've got Press Start Australia here, which gave Ghost of Yotei an 85 out of 100, and they sound pretty tepid here with their review. It says, while I don't think Ghost of Yotei quite reaches the heights of its predecessor, it is another worthwhile trip to a lawless Japan. It sports a tonally distinct and cinematic story, a visually diverse open world chock full of activities, and is another fantastic showcase for the power of the PS5. But if you look at what they wrote about Dragon Age the Veilguard, they gave it another perfect 100 score, meaning that Ghost of Yotei is 15 points lower than the Veilguard. Doesn't sound like something that I would want to play. But here is one that is really damning if you ask me. Eurogamer gave Ghost of Yotei a 60 out of 100. They obviously didn't think much of it, saying Sucker Punch's sequel offers more great swordplay and heartfelt storytelling, but would be better served as a linear action game freed of its poor side quests and dated open world. And I've got to wonder, where was this energy, this level of criticism for Dragon Age the Veilguard? Because that game was given a perfect 100 out of 100 by Eurogamer. For Dragon Age, they wrote, a fantasy role-playing game of astonishing spectacle. This is the best Dragon Age, and perhaps BioWare has ever been. And obviously that is complete and utter bullshit of the highest order. But if we take these people at their word, and of course they'd want us to do that, wouldn't they? But if we took them at their word, then Ghost of Yotei is 40 points behind the Veilguard. That is hilarious. But then here is the comparison that everyone has been talking about online. This review of Ghost of Yotei is from IGN. They gave it an 80 out of 100, meaning that they got away from giving everything a 7 out of 10, and they scored something actually an 8 out of 10 for once. And they wrote about Ghost of Yotei, saying, a predictable but well-executed story takes you through Ghost of Yotei's gorgeous landscapes and satisfying fluid action. It may not be revolutionizing open world games, but it's a great distillation of the samurai fantasy. Meanwhile, this is what IGN gave Dragon Age the Veilguard, a 9 out of 10. Now, I'm not showing you their Metacritic score because, mysteriously, the IGN score for that game is suddenly not showing up on the Metacritic page. But the internet never forgets, IGN. You gave this game a 9 out of 10 because you are dishonest hacks. And now you're telling us that Ghost of Yotei is a worse game than Dragon Age the Veilguard. And guess what? I believe you. But at the end of the day, what really sticks out to me is this right here, where they incurred the wrath of gamers, Sucker Punch that is, incurred the wrath of gamers by refusing to publicly denounce the killing of Charlie Kirk after their employee was fired for mocking that tragedy. Look at the numbers on this trailer, over 500,000 views, and they were ratioed by a factor of 3 to 1. And as we've talked about, the comment section shows that they are getting absolutely pummeled. Now, will there be people out there who believe game journalists and they go out and buy this game? Of course, idiots exist after all, and so do progressive activists who haven't decided to boycott the game for this developer from Sucker Punch being fired, but I think that these sales will be pretty damn muted after all the poor decisions that Sucker Punch has made, and it will be interesting to watch it all play out and see if they can actually outsell Dragon Age the Veilguard. In any case though, I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your mockery of Ghost of Yotei and Sucker Punch into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.